We're about to take it back.
You are now tuned in to Atlanta's hottest radio show, K.L.P. Aftermath.
We shut it down in the studio.
You're rocking with the best.
Oh, this is Ludacris.
What's going on? This is Drake.
It's Tiger Young Money Zone.
It's your boy Wiz Khalifa, man.
This is Big Sean.
Yo, what's up, y'all? This is Kanye West.
This Jay-Z. Yo, this is your boy Weezy.
With your host, Kennedy Lucas. On Swanky 93.3 radio station. The Heat 94.6 E radio station.
Hey folks, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another exciting podcast here today. Of course, guys, this is the K.L.P. Aftermath. I'm your host, K.L.P. Kennedy Lucas. Welcome back to the podcast, my peeps, my Swanky-nators, my Lucas Nation fans. Everybody, welcome back. Guys, let me tell you, words cannot express how excited I am for this podcast today because we've got a lot of things we've got to talk about here on the podcast. Now, before I continue, of course, we got Tyrus and Monica up in the studio. Make sure that we sound good. We look good, too. Today's a very, very special podcast. Now, for a lot of people who haven't seen the movie, spoiler alert. I got to say, spoiler alert. If you haven't seen this movie, hence the title, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, please do not watch this podcast. I ain't even gonna say don't watch the podcast, watch the movie and come back to this podcast. You can do that, right? A lot of people just haven't had time to fling it at the theaters this time around. So again, if you guys haven't seen this movie over this past weekend, then please don't begin unless you want spoilers, because I'm about to spoil some things about this movie later on in our show. I just had to go ahead and bring that out there to you because, you know, it is a great movie that I'm tremendously excited about as I adjust my mic here. There we go. Now we sounding better, just a little bit better. This movie is incredible, but we'll get to that, right? We'll get to the review of the movie later on in this podcast. It's a beautiful Monday. Hopefully you guys are ready for another exciting podcast today as much as I am. I'm excited, and I like to say that today's podcast was brought to you by Kennedy Lucas Films. If you guys don't know, of course, we've got to talk about it. My two films are now available for Amazon Prime Video. Prime Video, obviously, is a huge network that we're on, guys. So we got to give it a round of applause here in the studio because Street Style and New York Culture, guys, and, of course, Hardline Second Term, they're available right now on Amazon Prime. If you are able to get Prime, you can buy or rent the movies out. You guys will not be disappointed in both feature films. Let me tell you, it's been an incredible journey so far. I wanted to talk about my experience a little bit, and I know we have topics for today's podcast. We're going to get to those, but I've got to talk about it because this is huge, guys. This is very, very huge. This is not a movie or movies that are just on a small platform stream now. You know, Prime Video is a huge network, and it's not me overselling it, right? But it's huge. It's a huge network to be a part of, and I'm so excited simply because, you know, if you asked me 12 years ago, guys, that my films would be on a major network, I would have laughed and I would have said, how do I do that? 12 years ago. But now, fast forwarding to today, to 2022, did my homework. I studied and I understand distribution a little bit better. And now we're on big networks like Amazon Prime Video. So I'm very, very excited for that. I want to thank everybody who's been around, right? Who's been around, who's been motivating me, who's been telling me, hey, you should look into distribution. And it's fantastic. It's one of those things that it's very, very fantastic. I genuinely enjoy doing movies for sure, but I enjoy giving you guys content, and it's on a major network. Now, back in the day, a lot of indie filmmakers, they would have their films made and they would just have it for YouTube for free because that was the only outlet we had back in the day. But now I can say with comfort, our films are not going to be on YouTube anymore. Spotify Video, it won't happen, right? Because we have such a big distribution, we have such a big network now. Of course, we're going to have our movies out for big networks. But gosh, guys, it's been a journey. It's been one of those things that it's been very, very fun to dabble into. And it's incredible. The feeling is so incredible because I feel, and I feel a little bit of fulfillment. And I say a little bit, guys, because we're making more films, right? This is not just, hey, we made our films, we're on the network, we're done. No, that's not the case, because we've got many documentaries that we want to make. We got many films, feature films that we want to make, and we're going to make. So this is not the end of this culture, but I feel like it's, just the beginning of something new. A new era has been born. So I get very excited. I get very giddy about this kind of stuff because it's been a long time, right? And I feel some sort of fulfillment. I feel that, I've made it, kind of. And because with Prime, you're sharing a platform with Hollywood, right? You have the biggest stars doing their own shows and their own movies on Prime Video, and I'm right there with them. Right. So I don't know. It feels comfortable. It feels very fantastic. That was my Friday. And I give you guys a little cheat sheet, a little behind the scenes when it comes down to it. So I was anticipating Street Style to come out in December, late December, and then Hardline was scheduled to come out in January. And I felt good. January 20th, 2023 was going to be the release date for Hardline Second Term. But it turns out Amazon said, nope, today. So you can't argue with it. I'm happy with it. I'm very stoked about the process, and of course everybody's been seeing my films. My close friends have saw my films. A lot of people, because we see our stats, people have genuinely seen our films, and of course I had obviously had family see the film as well. So very excited for that. I'm stoked. It's huge. This is huge. This is a monumental type of thing for sure. So it feels good, guys. Here's to many more movies to come out for Prime. But I'm stoked. I'm very happy about that. And it's been a good weekend. You want to know why, T? Yes, we went to go see Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Let's get into it, guys. We might be talking about films this podcast, because I'm on Prime Video with my two films, and then over the weekend, yesterday Sunday, I went to go see Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and I've got to talk about it again. Spoiler alert for a lot of people. So again, if you haven't seen the movie, pause, go watch the movie, go to the theaters, go see it, come back to this podcast. I feel like everybody have already seen the movie though, right? Because we're in this society where social media is heavily influenced, right? People go to social media to find Easter eggs. People go to see spoilers, and there's articles that are coming out now about the movie, and the spoilers are leaked. So the movie's out again. If you have, and I was able to get my ticket for $13. So again, if you got $13 just to spare, go to an AMC, go to a Regal, go see this movie, go with a friend. I went with my brother. Shout out to Ryan, Amazon actor. He's listed as an actor in Street Style of New York Culture. So we joked around with that. So I went with my brother yesterday, Sunday. We went to go see Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Obviously, everybody knew that I was going to go watch this movie. I was going to theaters. It was the only matter of when. A lot of people did go on Friday. I couldn't go on Friday because that's when the movie came out, and you best believe theaters are packed, and you ain't gonna find no seats. So of course we went on Sunday. Sundays are really a good day to go. It was still packed, right? When I approached the theater and walked into the theater, there were a lot of seats booked. A lot of people was in there, which was great because people genuinely came out to see this movie. So we went in there, did our thing. We bought our tickets online. We got in. They scanned our barcode. We were in theater 10, and that was it. You had your movies. We had concessions, and we went to go see the movie. Now, my overall take, and I'm gonna go ahead and give this early, T and Monica. I'm gonna give my take early, guys. This movie was very emotional, right? It was very emotional. It was a tribute, right? This was a movie that I'm glad that they had to exit Chadwick Boseman's character T'Challa at a good light, and I feel like they executed that really well prior to him actually passing away. So they expand the movie on they're at some sort of unforeseen. The story is unforeseen, unheard of illness. He was out in battle. He got killed. Black Panther, T'Challa. That was a good way to segue. Okay, T'Challa's dead in this movie, and unfortunately Chadwick Boseman passed away, right? So they told that story really well, to where it's like, okay, he's dead in real life, but he's dead also in this movie, the character T'Challa, and of course the human being of Chadwick Boseman. May he rest in peace, King. So it was a good way. Now it's Shuri's turn, right? It was Shuri's turn to figure it out. She's still mourning of the loss of the brother, T'Challa. Of course, Shuri is played by Lethea Wright. So she's learning, right? She's learning some new technology. She figures things out. She's going through some emotions, right? Is Queen Ramonda, of course, played by the wonderful Angela Bassett. And let me just say, Angela Bassett did her damn thing in this movie. Now, I've read articles, and even my brother had told me that he saw articles that she might get nominated for an Oscar for her performance in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Honestly, I'm very excited that Angela Bassett had more of a speaking role, right? I'm glad that all these characters have more of a speaking role in the sequel, because if you remember the first one, Queen Ramonda, she had speaking roles, but then, you know, she wasn't the highlight of the movie. She wasn't the full front of the first movie. Now in this movie, Angela Bassett had a whole lot of scripting in this movie. She articulated a lot in this movie. You hear a lot of Angela Bassett in this movie. I do like it, and I got to comment on it because, if you guys know, obviously we're African Americans here in the studio. I like how their hair, they let hair and makeup to be more natural. She had the curls. She had the nice curls, the curls, and it just looked beautiful in the movie. Everybody's hair, from Shuri down to Queen Ramonda, their hair was fantastic, right? It's very curly. It's very African centric type of hair. I was looking at that the most. Things like that I critique the most. I really do. I critique that most when it comes to films, when it comes to hair and makeup. So moving on, of course, they're both mourning of the loss of T'Challa, and of course they're looking to go find the scientist. Turns out to be Riri Williams. Again, spoiler alert, a lot of people now, we're spoiling some things, but Riri Williams comes into the picture. Of course, she's obviously Ironheart. She learned the skills from her brain smarts, but then she's learning some things from Iron Man. Now, if you guys remember, this is me critiquing it a lot more. There's a scene in the movie where she's building her suit, and if you guys remember, Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr., the first Iron Man movie, he's building the very first suit, and he's wearing kind of a white beater tank top, and he's hammering away. They did a tribute to that as well, because Riri Williams, Ironheart, she's making her machine. She has a tank top on, right? And she's making the machine. So that's kind of a throwback there as well. It's good to see that. It's good to see Riri Williams and the actress that plays her, and I'm gonna Google her name real quick because I kind of forgot her actual name, but her Riri Williams actress that plays in this movie, she executed that character really well. I think that she added a lot of funny comedic type of stuff. And as I quickly get the cast list up here real quick, and we'll take a second and look at this because I really want to look at this. Okay, Dominic Thorne, she did a fantastic job playing Riri Williams, because she is the snarky but funny but smart and intelligent, and she knows what she wants, but then she has a little bit of that element to her too. So she really did her thing playing Ironheart, Riri Williams, and it's a good lineup for Dominic Thorne, guys, because obviously we are going to get an Ironheart show for Disney Plus, so I cannot wait to watch more of that and see what happens. Of course, we did get to see when Shuri, again, spoiler alert, guys, when Shuri finds out that she develops the herb, right, the herb of the Black Panther, she figures it out. She indulges herself in the juice of the herb, and now she becomes the Black Panther. Now, again, spoiler alert, guys, because I'm spoiling some things here, but she becomes the Black Panther. We do get to see Michael B. Jordan's character Killmonger in the Ancestry afterlife, so that was very, very interesting, because I never thought we would see him in this movie, but we have. Now he has a great role in this, but he's at the past life and the afterlife of it all. People did speculate that what if Michael B. Jordan, after Thanos, after Endgame, the snap the fingers, Iron Man snapped his fingers, and what if he brought back Killmonger, but brought back Killmonger to be a hero, right? A lot of people did speculate that. What if he becomes a face to Black Panther, he indulges the power for greater good, he becomes the next Black Panther? That's not happening, guys. Spoiler alert for a lot of people out there. That didn't happen. Shuri is Black Panther. Of course, Namor, his character was fantastic. I really liked his character, right? I did get kind of confused, just a little bit, right? Because I thought his culture, his people was coming from Atlantis, right? That's my initial thought going into this movie. Turns out that they come from a Mayan descent, right? Which is completely different from people from Atlantis. The city of Tolakan, they're housed in the Atlantic Ocean, but I thought it was going to be Atlantis they were expanding, but that was a completely different direction when it comes down to the characters and where Namor's character and his tribe is coming from. They're coming from a more of a Mayan type of vibe than it was Atlantean type vibe. So I was a little bit confused about that too, because that was my expectations going in, right? But the character was executed really, really well. He plays a good villain. I mean, let me get that cast list back up, because that villain was very, very fantastic. Of course, that's Tenoch Huerta or Hete. I might have butchered the name wrong there. He plays a good villain, right? He really does play a good villain when it comes down to it, of course. It was good to see Lupita Nyong'o repressing her role as Nakia. There's been speculation that what if she becomes the next Black Panther, right? Very, very good for the end credit scene. Now there was not an end credit scene. There was a mid credit scene, which I'm not going to spoil because I'm spoiling a lot as it is already. You just got to watch the movie for that end credit scene, because that might line up for Black Panther 3 in the future, right? We're not going to see a Black Panther 3, maybe not the next 2 years, right? But later on, let's say 2026, that year we might see Black Panther 3, and you guys will know what I'm talking about, because a new character, quote unquote, comes into the scene towards the end of the end credit, and you guys get to see a little bit more. Of course, M'Baku comes back. Of course, Winston Duke, he's coming back for sure from the Jabari tribe. Very, very good. Dorothy Steele, the Merchant tribe, she's making her comeback, her reprise role. Martin Freeman plays Ross. It's good to see that Ross was a part of this as well. I get very excited, right? I really do get very excited to see characters that's been in the first movie. They come back and they're a part of the great story in the first one. I got to say that this movie is fantastic. There's a lot of emotion that was going through my mind. It was going through my brother's mind when it came down to this movie. This was a movie that was very, very well reciprocated. It was a tribute, right? It's a tribute for Chadwick Boseman, right? There's been 2 scenes where they give him a moment of silence, right? There's the, spoiler alert, when you go see the movie, of course, they're getting ready to load up the Marvel Studios logo. Of course, I knew they were going to put all of his stuff in that Marvel Studios logo. But this one was different, right? This was the first transition where there's no music. There's nothing. People in the theaters, guys, were quiet. It was super quiet in the theaters because everybody, not just them, the editors and the producers of this movie, but people in the theater, when that Marvel Studios logo came on screen and all you saw was Chadwick Boseman tribute, everybody was quiet, right? Because everybody gave it a moment of silence for Chadwick Boseman. And that alone says a lot, right? It says a lot. Towards the end of the movie, spoiler alert, Of course, Shuri is thinking about, her brother once more, and she's on the beach, she's reflecting, and they cut back to all of the some of the iconic scenes from the first movie, just Chadwick Boseman. Everybody in the theater quiet as a mouse, right? Another moment of silence. So you can tell this movie was a tribute to Chadwick Boseman. This was that movie. And a lot of the actors and actresses in this movie said, this is more than just mourning a death for Chadwick Boseman, but it's a celebration of his life and what he started, right? It was a healing moment, right? A lot of Angela Bassett and Lethea Wright, they said in their interviews at Good Morning America, this movie, this is for us to heal, right? To not necessarily move on so quickly, but to heal from our pain, our hurt, our mourning, right? So that's what made this movie so great. A lot of emotions go out into this movie. Something does happen to Queen Ramonda. Again, I'm trying not to spoil so much for you guys because I kind of feel bad already giving you guys everything because I've seen the movie yesterday. Things does happen to Angela Bassett where, she has a role, but, something happens to her where she may not be in the third one, right? So, this movie was everything. This, and a lot of people have tweeted, a lot of people have done their podcast interview or their podcast review rather. This is the movie that kind of, first of all, this is the movie that fixed phase 4 of Marvel. But this is the movie that is a great Marvel movie of all time so far. Between this movie and Endgame, this one was the best. In my eyes, I might have a different opinion. Some people might have different opinions about it. But like I say, guys, you guys have to just go out and truly watch this movie. This is heartfelt. It's culture versus culture. It's tribe versus tribe. There's some emotion, right? There's one tribe tries to partner up with one, tries to get the partnership of another tribe. Again, I'm saying it like that so I don't spoil it. But then they understand right and wrong. So it's a good one. This is the one that you cannot miss. Now, if you have the opportunity to go watch this movie in theaters, by all means, go out and watch this movie in theaters. If you want to wait into Disney Plus, sure, I might even watch it 2 more times when it comes to Disney Plus. I did get teary-eyed, Monica. I did. I got a little teary-eyed because about what this movie was about, right? And there was a cool scene I gotta mention. I'm sure she probably don't remember me, but an RA family, Olivia, she's in the movie as well. I saw her post. She was in this movie as an extra cast, and she came up on screen, and it was very, very cool to see her. She probably don't remember. She probably do. But Olivia is she's a RA family for us at GGC, Georgia Gwinnett College. Shout out to them. So it's good to see that she's on the big screen as well. So again, guys, sorry, I said Winston Duke. Well, yeah, that is Winston Duke. But this is a good movie, guys. This is something you can't sleep on for sure. So fantastic. Congratulations to Marvel Studios. Congratulations to everybody who's been a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe when creating this movie, because this is the movie you got to see. And as always, rest in peace, King Chadwick Boseman. That movie was for you. Rest in peace for sure. Moving on to our next topic of conversation as well. We got to talk about it because we talking about Flavor Flav. That's who we're talking about. This news outlet came out today. Okay, so Flavor Flav curses out Spirit Airlines after missing flight. Gosh, where has Flavor Flav been? I remember watching Flavor Flav when I was a kid, when he had his shows, and at the time the dude was funny, but like this dude got rich just by doing that little jingle, and he's running his show. Of course, Flavor Flav missed his flight and did not hesitate to let the staff at Spirit know about it. Let me tell you, you can't cuss at Spirit. I know a lot of people talk a lot of crap about Spirit, but I gotta say, a lot of people, not just Spirit, even though we're talking about Spirit, but a lot of people cuss out people of Spirit Airlines and Frontier Airlines. Now, I got to give credit to Frontier Airlines because they helped us get to New York. Of course, we bought a ticket, so they didn't really help us. But those flights are good priced, and I haven't had a negative experience, right? I flew both. I've never had a negative experience, but I don't know why people they think they have bad experiences and they say, oh, you fly Spirit? Ugh. I fly Delta. Okay, you go spend $500 on a flight if you want to. I got a discount. Of course, according to TMZ, the legendary member of the Public Enemy missed his flight on Thursday the 10th, the night at the Spirit Gate inside Harry Reid International Airport in Las Vegas. Around 11:30 p.m., Flav was seated near the entrance waiting to hop on the flight to Detroit. While at work on his laptop and talking on his phone, he noticed that the gate agent had shut the jetway doors. As he approached the gate, the representative would not open it, causing him to miss his flight. Of course, as you can imagine, Flav was not happy. That I do understand. When you miss your flight, you got to go through the airlines. You got to potentially get your money back or hop on a different flight, and then that derails your time. So that part I do understand. But I gotta say, anytime I fly somewhere, and I've flown to plenty of places. I've flown to Florida. I've flown obviously to New York. So I've flown to Denver as well. I've flown to, we had a rollover, but from Georgia to Missouri to get to Denver and back. So I've flown quite a few times in my lifespan so far. It's never good to miss your flight, right? You always want to make sure you're at the right place at the right time. I always say that. When I was going to New York, luckily, speaking of New York, I woke up at 2:00 in the morning and we got to the airport around 5 o'clock in the morning because we had to hop on a 7:45 a.m. flight. So we had to make sure we were there. For me, not just my flight, but anywhere I'm going somewhere, I always got to make sure I got enough time to board the plane, right? You never want to show up right as the door is closing because it's a whole headache. Get there early. No matter what time you have, get to your air flight early. That's with everything. Of course, but Flav was kind of upset about that. He was really, really not happy about the situation. The situation did get heated exchange with one of the Spirit employees after a customer even tried to come to Flav's defense. After he began use of obscenities to express his frustration, the employee threatened to call security. Flav, of course, have also said that it's his custom to wait for everyone to board first because he usually asks to take pictures and he doesn't want to be held up on the boarding process. That I understand when you're famous. First of all, though, I ain't hating, right? Because we flew Frontier Airlines and Spirit Airlines before. But if you Flavor Flav and you supposedly famous and got all this money, you ain't supposed to be flying this type of board. And hey, I ain't judging because I fly these airlines too, right? But if you made all this money and you working, you doing all this media stuff, you famous technically, where your money went to? Where you got to fly Spirit Airlines or Frontier, right? You could have had money to fly maybe not private, right? But maybe more of a coach, right? First class, right? If you're flying first class, right? So I thought that was pretty funny in my opinion, right? I often wonder that, like, okay, why you boarding that? But anyway, according to sources, also it's alleged that the employee at Spirit did not reopen the door to let another passenger in, but closed again on Flav and 2 other people. Now, again, I agree with people that's their rule, and this is for every flight, not just Spirit, not Frontier, not even Delta. Everybody does this. If you miss your gate closing, they will not reopen the gates, right? Because people are boarded on time, people are ready to go. You can't delay flights, right? Because if you're going from one, and I don't work at the airport, but I kind of know how they work a little. When you leave one airport and they need to get to another airport at this specific time, right? Because that plane has to go to another flight. They can't be late on their flight, right? I've read that if an airline is late getting somewhere, like extremely late, they lose money. As a company, they do. So I understand that process of them not wanting to reopen the gate for Flavor Flav because, when the gates are closed, You need to be there on time. Anybody would tell you, get on your flight an hour before it takes off. I know it's an hour. I know it's long, but that's just Flight 101. I told my brother and my friend Harmony, they were producers for our documentary. I said, we need to get to the airport 2 hours before boarding, right? Just in case if our luggage gets lost, just in case of TSA giving us some headache, just in case if there's a delay and you need to be, just in case you need to go to the bathroom, you have plenty of time to do that. If you're hungry, you can go to their little food court, especially if you, and we're here in Atlanta. So you guys know Hartsfield Jackson is the busiest airport in the world. So you definitely got to get to your flight 2 hours prior to that. I digress. Of course, following the incident, Flav released a statement that was obtained by TMZ offering an apology for his role in the altercation. It's good that he apologized, right? Because at the end of the day, these airlines and these employees of airlines, they're just doing their job, right? I get gripe about a lot of people getting upset with people just doing their job. It's their job. They get paid to do what they do, right? It's not for them to be jerks, right? They're not trying to be jerks. They're not trying to be assholes. It's just people are doing their jobs, right? Because they gotta feed their family. They gotta put money on the table. So I don't know. People get upset about that. So the airlines, of course, there's a quote here. The Spirit Airlines shut down the doors on me while I was in line to board. I was upset, and some say harsh words at the gate agent. Of course, Flav said in a statement he apologized. He says, "I apologize." These are Flavor Flav's quotes. "I apologize for those who witnessed me acting out of character. I do not apologize to Spirit Airlines or the gate agent." So, hey, charge it to the game, right? If you need to, obviously get to your flight early, super early, right? Whether when you first get there and they say we're beginning to board, be there, right? Don't be late. I don't know if that's the story with Flavor Flav. I don't know if he was late to his gate or not. But you gotta be there, right? If you got a ticket, you bought a ticket, you gotta be there hours before they say boarding, right? Because that kind of helps you validate that you've been there on time, right? If you run into a gate and they're closing the doors as you speak, as you're running to your gate, you're late, you know. So moving on to our next and final segment of today's show, we got to talk about sports as always. You guys know how I like to do. I love to talk about sports. Of course. And actually, yes, Vikings stun Josh Allen, of course, Bills in overtime for arguably wildest final minute in NFL history. Of course, Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson survived one of the wildest finishes in recent NFL history on Sunday afternoon. Of course, it took a remarkable one-hand grab and the end zone fumble and a last-second interception, but the Minnesota Vikings beat the Buffalo Bills 33-30. Now, you guys know how I say it. A game is good if you're 3 points off, right? It was a close match. There's a difference between a close match and a straight-up ass whooping. So they end up getting this match, of course. Vikings beating the Bills by 33-30. So that was a close match in the overtime at the Highmark Stadium in what should easily go down as a game of the season, if not recent NFL history. Of course, the Bills quarterback Josh Allen had a shot to pull off the win in overtime, but had quickly merged into the red zone after the Buffalo gave up a Vikings field goal. Of course, you had Allen threw an interception directly to Vikings cornerback Patrick Patterson in the end zone, which sealed the 3-point win for Minnesota. It's marked Allen's fourth red zone interception in the past 2 weeks. Of course, that finish, though, was just part of the ridiculous finish that was full of mistakes from Allen. Gosh, that gotta suck. That really has to suck when you almost have a match won. And when you have it almost won, right? You have it won, and that's it. You gave it up. And now the opposing team scores 3 points, and now they win the game, right? That really has to suck for a lot of people who were close in contact with that. And you know, it's a close match, right? Just 3 points off because of your minor mistake you might have made, right? So I get very, very interested with that for sure when it comes down to it, because it was a close match. So is one of those things that it does happen, guys. And it was a close match. Minnesota Vikings ended up winning over the Buffalo Bills. I was actually rooting for the Bills too, right? Because they've had an okay season, right? I'm rooting for a lot of teams though, Monica. I am. I'm rooting for, the Chiefs, the Bills, the Falcons, right? We saw it also because we went to Genia after watching Black Panther. Again, shout out to my brother. We went there. I didn't do a review about Genia because we already done a review about Genia. It's a ramen spot, and I saw that the Denver Broncos and the Titans match, that was a close match as well. So I'm very, very excited for that as well. Something that also popped in my mind before we wrap up this podcast today, because I meant to talk about this and I just haven't yet. Of course, have y'all heard about this story about Sophia Rosing? So Sophia Rosing is a University of Kentucky student who have said some choice words, right? She was in the hallway. She was drunk out of her mind, and she was confronted by, or she was getting confronted. She was doing the confronting, actually. She was confronting a fellow student, right? A fellow student that was out there, and she said the N-word so many times, right? And I guess you can say this is our elephant of the room for sure, because you have this 22-year-old, right, saying the N-word. She said it so many times. And she said the harsh N-word. She didn't say the soft N-word. She said the harsh N-word. The word that can get you slapped. The word that can get your ass beat, right? So I wanted to talk about that real quick on the podcast. It's fresh on my mind. That does exist. Now, I applaud that young student that was getting confronted by Sophia Rosing for them saying that. She said, Sophia, the racist girl, she said, "You're my servant and you wore an N-word." Freely. She's drunk out of her mind. She's drunk out of her mind. But she said it. Right? And I was so baffled when that happened. When I saw it on Instagram and Facebook, I saw it and I'm like, this is something that she probably was taught, right? She wasn't born with that. Her parents didn't. That's not genetically born to say that. You were taught that because of maybe who your family is, right? Now, a lot of people at the school, University of Kentucky, they do not condone that, and of course, she got kicked out. Or potentially, or unless we have an update, she's got kicked out of this school. And that the University of Kentucky is a huge school. It's a huge university that you can go to, right? And then that happens, right? It happens to where now you're not able to go to this school no more. And when you Google yourself, that's what's going to come up. So a lot of schools probably won't accept you, right? Sophia Rosing, you've been canceled. You've been canceled in today's society because of that's a very sensitive word. Like I say, the young other student that was getting confronted by Sophia, that she got on video, and then she tried to swing. Sophia tried to swing on that young student. She kept her cool, right? She kept her cool because she knew them phones were out. Because she knew she could have whooped Sophia's ass. She could have, but them cameras was out. Right? If that young student would have laid hands on Sophia, now that would have been a whole story twister, right? We're in this society where somebody would initiate something, but you put hands on somebody. Oh, that's a whole nother story. Whole nother chapter, whole nother book, whole nother film right there. So I applaud, and I meant to talk about this previously, but I applaud that young student for that because she kept her cool. She kept it collected. As always, guys, that's never okay. That hasn't happened to me yet, right? In my lifespan, no one has called me the N-word, so I'm appreciative of that. I don't know how I would react if someone called me the N-word, right? As a young black man, I'm learning how to keep my composure a little bit more, right? Because if it was old me, yeah, I would have whooped somebody's ass on camera. I would have slanked, but it is good it is a very hurtful word, but the people today say it, right? We saw the whole Twitter thing, the free speech thing, which I'm thinking about deleting my Twitter off of that because that's not okay. It's not okay. So that's in the what's happening with that. So again, Sophia Ross, she's the biggest elephant of the room for today's podcast. But hey, you just crushed your college, right? Everybody knows who you are, and you're a bigot, you're a racist. Because if you comfortably, now doesn't matter how drunk you were, you know what you're saying, just a little bit. You know exactly, and then she get arrested, and she was singing the word too when she got arrested. That was it, right? You're racist. You will forever be racist in this world. When you try to apply for a new, because you ain't going back to University of Kentucky no more. When you try to apply for a different college, they're gonna say, "Oh, is that the girl that called the black girl? Called everybody there? Oh yeah, we don't want her. Nah, she's too controversial. Absolutely not. We're not backing her." Right? Words hurt people. They really do hurt people. So again, for everybody out there in the world, please try to avoid using words like that towards people. It's very hateful. You can get canceled by that, by using those words in today's society. This is not the old school. This is not the 1920s where people can just say it and think they don't got repercussions. This is 2022. You say that word out there in public and get caught on camera, yes, you're gonna get canceled. You're either gonna lose your college like Sophia Rawson did. If you're an employee, you're going to lose your job, right? If you're a friend, you might get smacked. You might get your ass kicked, maybe, right? So please, let's not use those words. That's just been on my mind. So that's going to wrap it up here on our podcast today. Hopefully you guys enjoy this wonderful Monday podcast. As always, please remember to like, comment, subscribe if you're watching the video version on YouTube at K.L.P Entertainment. Of course, always hit that bell notification so that way you guys do not miss when we upload our next content. Again, check it out. Street Style, A New York Culture, and Hardline Second Term. Those are my two featured films that are available for Amazon Prime Video, of course, for rent or to buy. So again, do not sleep on our films there. As always, we're blessed to be out on a major network like that, and that's something you guys do not want to miss out on. Again, on Prime Video, that's Street Style, A New York Culture, and Hardline Second Term. Stay tuned later this week as we have many more podcasts to come this week. So of course, as we get closer to Thanksgiving week, I can't wait. So that's going to wrap it up here on our podcast, K.L.P Aftermath Season 4. I've been your host. From our cast and crew, stay safe, stay swanky, peace.
We're about to take it back.
You are now tuned in to Atlanta's hottest radio show, K.L.P Aftermath.
We shut it down in the studio.
You're rocking with the best.
Oh, this is Ludacris.
What's going on? This is Drake.
It's Tiger Young Money Zone.
It's your boy Wiz Khalifa, man.
This is Big Sean.
Yo, what's up, y'all? This is Kanye West.
It's Jay-Z. Yo, this is your boy Weezy.
With your host, Kennedy Lucas, on Swanky 93.3 radio station, The Heat 94.6 radio station.